All right. Hello, everyone. How is everybody today? Hope you are having a wonderful Wednesday. I think we're on Wednesday today. Hope you guys are having a great day today. I'm going to just try to pull up my chat here, and then we will jump into our demo today. All right. Looks like I've got my chat going today. It's going to be a good day for technology, I think. So welcome in, everybody. Thank you all for joining us. It's great to see all the familiar names in the chat. You guys, make sure to subscribe if you're new to our channel. But let's go ahead and jump right into our design and our nails today. So you can already see I've got a few nails already prepped and ready to go here. And we're going to be doing a design on all 4 of these nails, pretending it's a full set. You guys, I don't always like to work on that thumbnail on the trainer hand just because it's a little bit of a odd angle there. So we're going to do our set of 4 today. I'm going to take you through the prep and application of our full cover tip on our first finger here. And then again, I'll do a design on all 4 of these nails. So stick around with us. Make sure that you're joining all the great free education and getting some ideas today. So I'm going to start by just shortening up that natural nail a little bit. And when I do my full cover applications, I like to get rid of that extra free edge. It doesn't always help the tip adhere the best. It can sometimes get in the way. It can sometimes just cause extra issues in the long run. So whether you're putting on a full cover tip, a quarter well tip, or even sculpting the nail, I always recommend shortening up that free edge just a little bit, and then also rounding it out a little bit at those corners. So that way your tip is going to fit on a little bit better. Now, next thing we're going to do in our prep is push back our cuticles, and I just always simulate this on our trainer hand just to keep you in the routine of pushing back the cuticles. You always want to make sure that you're doing that on your real clients, and if you don't do that on your trainer hand, chances are you're going to forget to do that on your client. So always make sure that you are staying in the routine and doing everything that you would do on a real client. Do that on your trainer hand. Now I'm going to wait until after I size out my tips to do the rest of my prep. And the reason for that is so that I don't get this nail all dusty or dirty or get any extra oils or anything on that while I'm doing my sizing and customizing. So we're going to set the hand off to the side a little bit there. Today we're going to be using our full cover almond tips, and we're going to be doing actually a shorter nail. So I'm going to show you how to shorten these up and customize those a little bit more so that you don't have to do really the extra long nails that sometimes come in the boxes here. So you can customize these a little bit. So when we're sizing out our tips, let me come in a little closer here. We always want to start our sizing by checking the C curve of the nail. And what I mean by the C curve is if we look down the barrel of the nail and the barrel of our tip, so this is our tip that we've got, that curve in this direction, that's our C curve. So we want to make sure that we're getting that C curve of our tip fitting flush down onto the C curve of that natural nail. Now I chose a size 1. You guys, if we take a look at this, it does look like it sits flush down onto that natural nail. It sits nice and tight onto that curve, but see how far off those edges it hangs? That's going to be way too big for this nail. So we're going to go a size smaller. And again, that was a size 1. Let's go to a size 2. We'll check a size 2. Now this one does feel a lot better, but it is still hanging off the edges just a little bit. So with this one, this is going to be a maybe. So we're going to hang on to this as a maybe. We can always customize and file those edges a little bit shorter if we've got a little bit of that hanging off the edges. But we're gonna have this as a maybe because it does fit that C curve really nicely, and I think it could be a good fit. So we're going to set that one aside. I'm going to go even one size smaller to a size 3. I'm going to check my size 3. Now, the size 3 actually does fit really well. It fits that C curve nice and tight. I don't feel like I really have to put a lot of pressure to get that tip to sit on the nails. And it's hanging off still just ever so slightly on the edges. So I think this one's another possibility. So we're going to set the box of tips off to the side, and then we're going to make our decision. But when we are deciding what tip to use, if we're going to go with the larger size here or the smaller size here, it's going to depend on what you're using to adhere the tips. And today we're going to be using our Tip and Jewel Adhesive Gel. Now this is a very thick gel. You can see in the jar, it's going to just, it really is just a thick gel. And this is going to take up some space in the well of that tip. So underneath here, when we put that onto the nail, it is going to take up a little bit of space. So we want to keep that in mind when we are sizing out our tips. If we size, actually let me show you guys this really quick. If we go a size too small, now I'm going to over exaggerate this. If we go a size too small and we really have to put some pressure on that, see this tip, it does look like it fits pretty close from side to side, but if I let go of that tip, it's going to pop back up. Do you see how it's not quite fitting that C-curve very well? If I put pressure on, it's going to fit that C-curve. But if I let go, it's not going to fit that C-curve. So we do want to have something that is going to fit the C-curve, but still leave just a little bit of space underneath and a little bit of that tip hanging off the edges. So that way the gel that we're using can fill in that gap underneath. Okay, so just some tips when you are sizing out the full cover tips. You do want to size just a hair on the larger side to make sure to compensate for that thicker gel underneath. If you were working with just a thin glue, then you wouldn't have to worry about leaving extra space for that Tip and Jewel adhesive, but because we're using a thicker product, we do have to keep that in mind when we're sizing our tips. Now, I'm going back and forth, and I actually feel like this size, the smaller size, is going to be a good fit for our nail because it is still just barely hanging off the edge. So that is going to leave just a little bit of extra space for our Tip and Jewel adhesive. Now, could we go to the larger size? Yes, we could, but we would have to customize this one a little bit more, and we would actually have to file off those edges. Now, if that's the tip that you did choose, let me show you. You could use your file and you could take off those edges a little bit, taper that in a little bit, and do a little bit of customizing. But I think for today, I think we're just going to go with the size smaller, and I think that's going to be a good fit for this nail. So I think we're looking good there. I may go through and customize my corners here just a little bit because I feel like those are still hanging off just a little bit on that edge. So I can go through, and I'm just using a 150 grit file. You could actually use, usually I like to use my 180 file buffer combo. And I like this one because it's got the file on one side, so I can just file and customize that a little bit on the sides here. And then I can flip over, I can use that buffer side because after you file, you tend to have those little frayed edges. And I just like to use that buffer to go through and clean up those little frayed edges. So just a nice, quick, easy step there. And this way you don't have to be using two different files, a file and then find a buffer. You all have everything all together in one. So we're going to check that one more time. I think that's going to look good. That's going to fit just about right on there. One more thing that we're going to do before we put this tip on is I'm going to pre-blend this. And what I mean by that is I'm going to go through, and again, you could use the 180 or the 150 grit file, whichever one works for you. But we're just going to go through and just gently file right around that cuticle area where this is going to make contact with that natural nail. So this way, what's going to happen is this is going to thin that tip out just a little bit, so that way when we put this on to the nail, it's going to blend a little bit more flush down to that natural nail, and you won't see so much of a ridge in the back cuticle area. Now we still may do a little bit of blending once we have that on, but it's just going to help to pre-blend that and make the process a little bit easier once it is on that nail. Okay, so I think we got our tip all ready to go here. Let me set that one off to the side. And let's come back to our nail, and now we can finish our prep. So we've got our nail ready to go. Now we can finish our prep. So this way, once we prep the nail, we clean it, everything is going to be nice and clean and dry and oil-free and dust-free. We don't have to worry about doing any of the filing on our tip. So that way we're not going to recontaminate that natural nail after we've prepped it, okay? And you guys, I'm seeing some questions or comments in the chat. This is our trainer hand. You guys, this is not a real person, but everything that I'm doing on our trainer hand is really it's the same process that you would use for a real person. So don't skip any steps when you're working on your trainer hand. Treat it just like you would treat a real person. Be gentle with it. Don't be, pulling the fingers and things like that. Be gentle with it and use this as a training tool. Use this to help you perfect your techniques, perfect your applications, so that when you do actually work on a client and a real person, you're going to have those same techniques. So in our prep here, I just went through and used my medium grit sanding band, gently removed the shine from that natural nail. I did not put any pressure on with my bit. I just basically kind of feathered through that natural nail to remove the shine from it. And then we'll go through, we'll dust off that extra dust on there. And then I'm going to grab our swipe. Now, swipe is our cleanser. And this is what we're going to use to cleanse that natural nail. I'm going to pump a little bit of that onto my manicure brush. And we're going to use that to cleanse the natural nail. And this is also going to help to pull off any of the rest of the dust that may be still on that nail, or any germs or bacteria, or even extra oils that may be on the surface of that nail. So the swipe is going to leave us with a nice, clean, dry, oil-free, dust-free, contaminant-free surface. And it's going to look almost chalky. Okay, and that's exactly what we want to happen. We want to make sure that that nail does look nice and dry. And then it's going to be ready for our protein bond. Protein bond works like a double-sided tape. This is our bonder. This is what's really going to help our product and our tip and jewel adhesive to adhere to that natural nail. So it does work like a double-sided tape. So it's going to bond to that natural nail, but then it's going to leave that sticky looking surface on there. You guys see where I've brushed that protein bond and where I haven't? Always note that when you are putting your tips on, make sure that it does look sticky like this. If it doesn't look sticky like this, if it doesn't look like that part in the, sorry you guys, I'm saying that backwards. If it looks dry and chalky like this back part, that's showing you that it does not have that protein bond on. So make sure you don't forget your protein bond. And again, going through and doing everything on your trainer hand that you do on a real person helps to get you into that habit of doing all of those steps and not forgetting anything. So that way, again, you're not going to forget that when you get to your real person. Now, when I use our tip and jewel adhesive to adhere the tips, I do like to do 2 coats of my protein bond. This is going to give us just really great adhesion and a really good bond with that product to the natural nail. So 2 coats, nice and even all the way through, just making sure that you're not touching the cuticle or the sidewalls with that product. Okay. Now, one more thing we're going to do, I'm going to keep my protein bond out here. I'm going to take that nail that we've just prepped, so that that nail that we sized out, we've pre-blended that. I'm going to use my manicure brush, dust out the well of that to make sure that that's nice and clean. Now, you could go through and use the electric file and basically do the same thing that we did on the top of the nail to kind of give that a little bit of texture. You could do that in the well of the tip also, or you could just use the protein bond, which to me is an easier step, but it's a personal preference. But what we want to make sure that we're doing is either giving the well of the tip either texture or stickiness. So we want to make sure that when we use our tip and jewel adhesive to adhere the nail, it's going to adhere really well. And gels generally don't like to stick to a smooth, shiny surface. So again, that's why we would need to either create texture on the web or in the well, or we're going to use our protein bond. Now, I know a lot of people ask, does protein bond etch the tip? And you guys, it doesn't etch it or give it texture like just a regular hand file does, but it does give it a really great sticky surface for that gel to adhere to. So that's my preference on how I prep the well of the tip, but you could do either one. So personal preference. All right, so we've got our tip ready to go. We've got our tip and jewel adhesive ready to go. I'm gonna grab my spatula here. You guys, I'm using our dual-ended brush and spatula. So you saw it has a brush on one end and then it's got the spatula on the other end. Now, I've seen a lot of people, and this is a great technique if you want to use this technique, but you can take that tip and scoop down into your gel and lift out a little bit of that gel. But personally, I like to use the spatula instead because I feel like I have a little bit more control. So let me come in nice and close here. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to scoop up a little bit of product. Now, the amount that you want to pick up, you guys, I actually just had this question earlier today. How much product do you pick up and how much do you use in the well? What I'm going to tell you is you want to use about the amount that would cover about half of that natural nail. So if we can kind of take a look here, you see it's going to cover, actually that I might need just a little bit more. So I'm going to scoop up just a little bit more here. All right. Now if we take a look at that, that amount is covering about half of the length of the nail plate. So that's going to be about the right amount to apply to the well of the tip. Okay. What I like to do is I'm going to start by just pressing that gel into the well all the way down to where it's going to adhere all the way down to the free edge. Okay. So that's where I stop. And then I just pull that product back, smoothing that back almost all the way out to the edges, but I do leave just a tiny little bit of space right around that edge because what's going to happen is that product is going to flow out to the sides a little bit. So you want to leave just a little bit of space so that it's not squeezing out the edges. And just getting that product nice and smooth all the way through. This is where the brush comes in handy. If you have a little bit of that gel coming off the end, you can use that brush to just tuck it back up onto the well of that tip. Okay. So we've got our adhesive in there. Now, one other thing before I actually apply this, I'm going to show you guys here really quick. I'm going to grab our Touch Cure light. Now, this is a portable little light. And we're going to actually turn on, I'm going to turn the power on. You can see that it turns the light on here. I'm going to tap the end of it to turn that light off. I don't want it on just yet, but we're going to use this light to freeze our tip onto the nail. So this way it's not going to move, it's not going to run or flow or anything when you're trying to get the rest of the tips on. Okay. So just having that Touch Cure light handy is going to help you in the long run. So when we're putting our tip on, I'm not just going to take my tip and just press it flat down onto the nail like that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to start at a slight angle down towards the cuticle. I'm going to show you guys this from the side first, and then I'll actually show the application from the area or from the direction that you would be looking at it. But you want to start a little ways away from the cuticle. You don't want to start right at the cuticle because, again, if any of that gel squeezes out the end, you don't want that coming in contact with the skin and that cuticle in that cuticle area. So we're going to start a little ways away, set it down, and then slide it back. By sliding that tip back, it's going to help to push any of that gel back up underneath the tip so that, again, you're not having product oozing out the back. Once we've set it down, slide it back, then we're going to rock it down so that it connects and all of that gel is going to come in contact with that natural nail. All right, you guys, before I do the actual application, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you can keep coming back and getting all this free education. All right, so again, let's look at it from the front view. So this is the actual view that I would be applying the tip. So again, I'm going to start, let me just readjust one more time there. All right, there you go. Now I think you guys can see a better view. Okay, so again, I'm going to start a little ways away from the cuticle. I'm going to set that down, make contact, and slide it back so that that gel doesn't squeeze out that back area. Then I'm going to just start to rock that down, and you're going to start to be able to see that gel adhere. So just rocking that down using some pressure all the way until that gel connects all the way down to that free edge. A little bit more pressure, a little bit more pressure, a little bit more pressure. I'm seeing that my tip is shifting just a little bit, so I'm going to just turn that a little bit. And you guys, the nice thing about this tip and jewel adhesive is it's going to stay there. It's not going to slide off the nail. It's not going to run or flow. I can let go of that and kind of do a little bit of a check, and it's not going to, that tip isn't going to move. Now I do have to put a little bit more pressure down there to make sure it is adhering. And then I'm going to put a little bit more pressure back by that cuticle area. I want to make sure that this is connecting all the way down to the free edge, making sure both sides are connecting. And I'm going to just shift that a little bit so that it's nice and straight. Okay, I think that nail is right where I want it. I'm going to turn on my touch cure light. Let me come back out. So I'm going to turn that touch cure light. I am still holding that tip into place just to make sure that it doesn't slide or move or anything. It's really not going to move a whole lot, but just to make sure that I don't bump it or anything like that as it's curing. Now I'm going to freeze this into place for probably about 20 seconds or so under the touch cure light. And looks like it's been about 20 seconds or so. And now we're going to get this back into the full UV LED light to cure all the way through. Now you guys, as you're working, the reason that we use that touch cure light is because you're going to freeze one nail at a time. I've already done the rest of the nails on here. You guys, if you need to see a full set application, we've got some other great videos here on our YouTube channel, so you can see the actual process of that. But I do one nail at a time. So just like we did here, I'll put the tip on, freeze it into place with the light. I'll go on to the next nail, put the tip on, freeze it into place, put the tip on, freeze it into place, put the tip on, freeze it into place. Then after all of the nails are on there, then I'm going to go into our full UV LED light, and we're going to put that in there for a full 60-second cure. So the reason that I do one at a time and then cure it with the light is, again, it's going to freeze that nail into place. Then I can do the next one, the next one, the next one, and that way you're not having to go into the light every single time. It's going to be a time saver for you if you're using that touch cure light to freeze that into place and then do each of those nails and then get it into that full UV LED light. Okay. Once we have that cured out, we're going to do a little bit of customizing on this nail, and I'm even going to shorten this up. So I'm going to grab my dust collector here and just get that into place and ready to go. Anytime I do any filing or customizing or anything like that, I always like to have that dust collector because it's going to pull that dust down into the filter down here instead of me breathing that, or instead of that coming up into my breathing zone. So always use your dust collector if you have that available to you. It's going to be a big help for your lungs. Now you can see that, let me get back into camera here. You can see that I've shortened up the rest of these nails. You guys, I did the same size on the rest of these that I did on here. So I'm going to shorten this up. Just because this nail is originally a long almond shape, or I guess a medium almond shape, you still can customize. So I'm just using my tip cutters, just a plain old tip cutter, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to shorten that up and get you guys a view here. So I'm just going to take a little bit off that end, I think maybe about that much. Just going to squeeze that tip cutter, clip off that end. Now we've got a little bit of a shorter nail. So if you want shorter nails, you don't have to use you still use the almond shaped nails or almond shaped tips, but you can customize them so that they're going to be a little bit shorter for you. Now, remember how we went through and we pre-blended that back cuticle area? Now what we're going to do is go through with our sanding band and just refine that a little bit more. So this way we're not going to have a ledge right in that back cuticle area. And again, because we pre-blended that, it's going to make our filing a little bit easier now that that tip is on the nail. So I'm going to turn my dust collector on. I'm going to grab a brand new sanding band here. Actually, I should have changed that out for our prep, but I forgot. You guys, make sure that you are changing out your sanding bands. Make sure that you are always using clean implements and clean tools for all of your services. So again, brand new sanding band here. And we're going to just file right around that cuticle area. So I've got my file on about 5,000 RPMs. I'm going to work right up around that cuticle area, just like we did when we were prepping that natural nail. So just blending a little bit right around that cuticle. And because we already pre-blended it, again, we're not going to have a lot of filing to do. So at this point, that is really well blended. Now, we did shorten our nail. We want to be more at that almond shape, a shorter almond shape. I could go through and I could cut off those corners here. I'm just going to use my E-file. I'm going to use my E-file to round those out. And this way it's going to save me a little bit of time and a lot of effort. Instead of having to use my hand file, I'm going to just take this down and round that out with my E-file. Now I can go back through, and I will go back through with my hand file, and I will do a custom shaping, but we might as well do this as long as we've got that E-file, and I can do as much of my shaping and filing with the E-file as possible. Then we'll go through and just gently remove the shine from the rest of the surface of that nail. When we're putting our gel polish over the top of this, we want to make sure that we're completely removing the shine so that our gel polish is going to adhere really well. Okay? All right, so at this point, I'm going to go back to my 150 grit file. Just going to come in on those sides. If there was any of that tip that was hanging off the edge, I can just go through and gently taper that in a little bit, and this is where I'm going to perfect my shaping. So clean up that free edge a little bit, make sure that all of your nails look the same, make sure that they are the same length from one to the other, and I think this one needs to go just a little bit shorter, and we'll be good. So you guys, using the electric file for your shortening, and actually more for your shaping, I did use the tip cutter for my shortening, but using the E-file for your shaping is going to be a really quick and easy way to do that. All right, I think our nails are all about the same length and same shape. We'll turn off our dust collector here. And again, you guys, I use that dust collector, I just used it for just a brief time here, but just that little bit of usage makes it worth it. It really makes it worth it to not have all of this dust all over my hands, but especially not having that dust up in my breathing zone. And you guys, as I'm filing on the edges here, I've already taken off the sharp edges of my file, so there's no sharp edge on here that is going to cut my client's skin. Again, you guys, you can see if I put some pressure into this, it's not going to cut my skin because I've already gone through and removed the sharp edges with another file. Okay, so don't worry, I'm not cutting my client on the sides here, just tapering that in a little bit, just making sure everything is perfected on the sides. All right, you guys, who is ready for a fun ombre? Are you guys ready for a fun ombre? Let me know in the chat if you are. If you haven't subscribed already, make sure you do that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And let's get into our beautiful spring ombre. So I'm going to go through and dust off really, really well, dust everything off of these nails. And at this point, if you feel that you need to cleanse them, I would recommend using our ManiQ Cleanser. So if you have maybe a little bit of dust around there and you want to get rid of some dust, I would use the ManiQ Cleanser to cleanse the nail. Earlier, we were using our Swipe to cleanse the natural nail. Swipe has a little bit of acetone to it, and I don't usually like to use the Swipe to clean over those the plastic tips because we've already put texture on here, so our gel polish is going to adhere. If we use Swipe that has that acetone to it over our tips, it is now going to smooth that surface out again because of that acetone. So that's why we're going to use the ManiQ Cleanser instead. ManiQ Cleanser does not have any acetone to it, so this is going to help to cleanse that cleanse the nails without smoothing them out again. So just going through, cleansing those nails, getting a nice clean surface, getting all of that extra dust out of the way. And even underneath, if you guys need to cleanse underneath, if there's any dust or anything underneath there, give it just a quick once over underneath. All right, next thing we're going to do, just like we were doing our prep earlier on the natural nail, we're going to go through with a coat of our Protein Bond. Protein Bond is also going to help to adhere our gel polish. So let's come in nice and close there. So again, it's going to take this textured surface and it's going to now add a tacky surface. And those are the two things that gel does like to stick to. Gel likes to stick to texture or a sticky surface. So by adding our Protein Bond on top of our textured surface, this is going to help give us really good adhesion when we do apply our gel polish. So I'm going through and just doing one coat of our Protein Bond this time. On a natural nail, usually I recommend using 2 coats, but now we're working over our tip, so only 1 coat is really needed at this point. I'm still starting about halfway up the nail, working back towards the cuticle area, so this way I'm not flooding that product, that Protein Bond, up into the cuticle area or down along the side walls. All right, looks like some of you are new to our channel. Somebody says, I don't know what I'm doing here, but welcome. I'm glad that you are here. I'm happy to be helping you guys learn how to do some fun nail designs today. So whether you're new to our channel or whether you've been here for a while, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button. All right, you guys, I've got some colors already mixed up here, but I do want to take a quick second to just show you what we're going to be working with today. So the colors that I'm going to be using are some of our one-step gel polishes. And let me get all of our colors out here. So the colors that we've got today, we've got Juice Me, which is our fun peachy color. We've got Nom Nom, which is our bright pink. We've got Triptastic, that's our purple. We've got Always a Bridesmaid is our blue. And then In the Moment is our kind of our light green. So all of these colors are a little bit brighter than what you're seeing on my tile. On my tile, I have mixed these colors, and on my tile, I've used Officially Over It. Officially Over It is a really pretty soft white pearl. Let me come in nice and close so you can see that. So just that really pretty soft white pearl. I wanted to make my colors a little bit more pastel, but I also wanted to have a little bit of a shimmer to them. Now, if you want just a regular pastel color, you could add Heaven Help Me, which is just our solid white. But because I wanted to use a little bit of that shimmer, that's why I used Officially Over It. So I'm going to show you just really quickly how I mix these. If you guys need to see all of the different color mixtures, maybe we can do that in a future episode. But for today, I'm just going to show you really quickly how we mix this so we can actually get into our ombre design. So I'm going to take Juice Me, and we're going to put just a good amount. I was going to say just a few drops here, but actually a pretty good amount. Let me come in nice and close. Take a good amount of our color, so this way you can get all the way through your whole set. You don't want to run out of color partway through your set. And then we're going to take a little bit of that Officially Over It. Again, this is our soft white pearl color. And we're going to mix that in. Now, you guys, this is the same color. This one here, Officially Over It, this is the same color that I've mixed into all of my other colors that I've got on my palette. We're going to be doing an ombre today. And when you're doing ombre colors or ombre blends, it really helps to have a color that is in all of the colors. So again, I've got Officially Over It in all of my colors, and that's going to help our ombre to blend together. I always call it a kicker color. It's a color that you're adding to all of your different colors to help everything kind of kick it all together. So adding in this color to all my colors, first of all, yes, it is going to turn it that softer color. It's going to bring it to more of that shimmer because it's got that, that pearlized to it. But it's also going to be what helps to blend our ombre together a lot easier. Okay, oops, you guys, I guess you can't see that down on the bottom corner there. Okay, so we've got our color blended. Now, we're not just going to do an ombre on one of these nails. We're going to ombre all the way through this whole set. So I'm going to take our nails here and let's come in here. Oops, let me find my brush here. I'm going to be working with our Pro Gel Sculptor, and this brush has 2 parts. So it's got that handle so that you can always keep your brush covered, so a handle turns into a brush cover. Now, depending on where you want to start your ombre, pick your colors and we're going to kind of work in order. So I've got my colors laid out. I'm going to work from that peach, pink, purple, blue, green. And we're going to ombre all the way through these nails. So let me come back in nice and close so you can see what we're doing here. So I'm going to start, and again, we're going to be doing a, let me think about this, a vertical ombre. So we're going to be ombreing in this direction. If you like, you can ombre, you know, horizontal, but for this design, we're going vertical. So I'm going to scoop up a little bit of that gel polish, and we're going to start by just brushing that onto the left side of our nail. So just brushing all the way through. I'm going to use, and you guys, what I've got here is just a ceramic tile. You can get these at your local hardware store, but this is what I like to use to mix my colors on. And then I can also use this to clean out my brush. So this way I've got a nice clean brush, and then I'll pick up my second color. So just kind of scooping that up from the side. I'm going to brush that through the right side. Now notice that as I brush through, I try not to touch that center line. We're going to get to that point, but I don't want to contaminate my brush at this point. So just brushing onto the side. Then I'll wipe my brush out again and gently, starting at that cuticle, kind of blend those colors together and then gently blend right through the center. Now, because we mixed that officially over it, that pearl white color in there, that's going to really help these colors blend well together. So you can see I didn't have to do a whole lot of work to blend those colors. I'm going to clean out my brush. Now, on our second nail, we're going to start with that pink. So we're going to go from our peach to our pink, pink to our purple, purple to blue, and then blue to green. So again, we'll take a little bit of that pink, scoop that up, brush that through on the left side, brush that all the way back towards the cuticle, clean out my brush, pick up a little bit of the purple, brush that onto the right side. Now, if you're doing 4 nails, you're going to need 5 colors. If you're going to be doing 5 nails, you're going to need 6 colors. So depending on how you're creating your design, maybe on the thumb, you could use maybe a light yellow mixture, or just really, you guys, whatever color combinations you like to create. So again, just gently feathering right down the center of that to get those 2 colors to blend together. Okay, I'll clean out my brush again. Now, you guys, this is where it starts to get a little bit tricky. You want to make sure that you're not going to smudge these. If you need to, you could pop these back into the light and you could freeze that color into place. You could also use that touch cure light that we were using earlier to just set those into place. But do you see how I'm holding the nails? I'm keeping those fingers on top of mine. I'm not coming from here, because if I'm holding from here, there's a good chance that I'm going to bump this one and dent those or smudge those. So hold those fingers on top of your own and then keep working down the nail, and that way you won't end up smudging. And it'll save you a little bit of time because you don't have to go back into the light to cure after every one. Now, if you do have to cure in between, maybe you do 2 nails and then you decide that you want to cure it, that's okay, because you're going to still be working on the other hand. So while this hand would be in the light, then you would have the other hand to work on. So again, you're not really wasting any time. It's just an easier process. All right, we'll take a little bit of that blue. And somebody's asking, can you do this with a regular polish? You guys, I've not had good luck blending and doing ombres with an air dry polish because they do dry fast. You don't have the time to go through and blend like you do with a gel polish. So this is probably something that I would stick to using gel polishes or gel paints. And that's going to help to give you the ombre that you're looking for. All right, on our last nail, we're going to go with our blue, and then we will blend in the green. But again, I start on the side And you guys, I love using this brush because it's got a little bit more of, you can see it's a little bit more of a rounded shape to it. So it's going to really get into those sidewalls nice and easily and up into those cuticle areas nice and easily. There's a little piece of fuzz on that one. I'll take that off. So that's why I like to use this brush. And let's grab a little bit of that green. And again, you guys, you could use, today we're using our one-step gel polishes, but you could use the ManiQ color, you could use your cream clays, you could use your Mission Control gel paints, and you can still customize and mix your colors, creating those pastel colors. Basically, if you add white to most colors, you're gonna get a pastel. So you can use whatever, whatever product you're liking. Now I'm gonna touch up a couple of little areas here. I'm gonna grab my micro detailer, and I can see a couple of little areas up by my cuticle that just kind of missed a little bit of that color. So I'm just gonna touch those up, just a couple of spaces. And you guys, if you don't need to touch up around the cuticle, you don't have to. I'm just showing you just because I feel like I do need to touch up on a couple of these. So we'll just go through, touch up those little areas, and then I am going to grab my brush one more time, clean them back out, and just blend out that little bit that I did have to touch up. So that way it doesn't look like the color is too thick up around that cuticle area. And clean that out one more time. Okay, now at this point, I am going to put this back into the UV light, and I'm going to freeze this. Actually, because I'm using the one-step gel polishes, these I do like to fully cure all the way through. So a lot of times when I'm using, let me grab my other colors here. A lot of times you'll see me when I'm using the Mission or the ManiQ color or some of the Mission Control or the cream clays, a lot of times those I do just freeze for 30 seconds. But with the one-step gel polishes, these I do like to do a full cure of 60 seconds all the way through. I feel like they get a better cure. But whatever works for you guys, I'm going to tell you I would recommend curing them all the way through for a full 60 seconds for each coat. Now, these are, like I said, a one-step. So when these cure out, there is no sticky surface. You don't have to worry about cleansing anything over the top. So if you want to leave these with no top coat, you are perfectly welcome to do that. We're going to go through and do a second coat of our color to just brighten these up a little bit. We still want to keep a little bit of that pastel look to them, so we're not going to go too crazy, but let's come back in. We're going to start with the same rotation, so start with that peachy color, blending out or brushing out one side, clean out my brush, pick up a little bit of that pink, blending that through, and then blending right down the middle. And there is a little fuzz on there. I got that with my brush. Wipe that out and just blending that through. So now we've got that really fun blend. We'll go to our second color, grab a little bit of that pink, brushing that down the left side. And you guys, it's a really fun process because when you're starting to blend those colors together, it's almost like magic is just happening here. So just blending those colors together. And if you do touch your brush to that first color, that's okay. It just helps it to blend a little bit. I'm going to clean that out a little bit. And again, you guys, just feathering, very, very lightly feathering right down the center. And again, making sure that I'm cleaning out my brush in between. And take a little bit of that purple. This one I'm going to touch up into that corner, make sure that I get really good coverage up into that cuticle area. And again, blending down the sides through that free edge, clean out my brush, pick up a little bit of that blue, blend that down the right side. I think I had a little bit too much blue on there, so I'm going to take that off of my brush. And you guys, I am using my large ceramic tile for this. When a lot of times you do see me use a smaller tile for some of my other mixtures. You guys, let me show you here. But this one, because we've got so many different colors, I like to have that space. So you can see the difference. A lot of times I use just my smaller one here, but today, because we've got so many different colors, I do like to have that larger tile just to have that plenty of space to clean out my brush or to have my colors on here. And we've got one last nail here. We're going to pick up a little bit of that blue. And again, blending down our sides up to the center. I'm going to clean out my brush. And we'll pick up a little bit of that green. And we'll blend that in. Again, you guys, if you need to, in between nails, if you need to freeze those into place to set those colors, go right ahead and do that. As I'm working here today, I am applying the color fairly thin so that I don't really have to freeze those into place and my product is not running, it's not moving. So those are going to go back into the light. Again, that is going to go in for a full minute to cure that all the way through. Now you guys, we got a super fun little tile here. We'll set that off to the side here. But to finish these nails, again, I was telling you that the one-step gel polishes don't dry with a tacky surface. So these are one step. You don't have to cleanse anything over the surface. And notice that we also didn't use a base coat with these. With the one step, you don't have to use a base coat even on a natural nail. On my tips or on my other enhancements, I generally don't use a base coat anyways, but this one you definitely don't have to use a base coat or a top coat. So personal preference. If you do decide that you want to use a top coat, you can. Today, because we're working with the one steps and we don't want to be worrying about cleansing off a tacky surface, we're going to finish these nails with our Ultimate Finish Gel. This is also a tack-free finish, so you don't have to worry about cleansing anything over the top of that. So again, at this point, you could just leave the nails like that. They are completely cured out and dry. Personally, I do like to use a top coat over them. I feel like they tend to wear a little bit better and last a little bit longer. So that's why I like to use a top coat. You don't have to. It is a personal preference. They will have a nice shine to them after curing for a full minute. So feel free to top coat or not top coat. But if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And then we can go ahead and start our top coat chant in the chat. So if you are a regular and you know what to do, go ahead and start that top coat chant. If you are new to our channel, like I said, make sure you hit that subscribe button. But after you hit subscribe, go ahead and just type into the chat, type top coat, top coat, top coat. And that's just our fun way of finishing up our set of nails. So we're going to finish our top coat on this one. We're going to get this back into the light. Again, the Ultimate Finish is a 60-second cure, so you want to make sure that you are fully curing that for 60 seconds. I'm going to get this into the light, and this one I am just going to freeze for 30 seconds so that you guys can see the finished look, and you don't have to wait for that extra 30 seconds. But in the meantime, actually maybe we will cure that fully, just so I can show you here how to clean out your brush. And let me set that other tile off to the side. So at this point, our brush does have a little bit of that color in it still. It's got a little bit of that gel polish in there. Usually what I like to do to clean out my, my brushes here. Whoops, you guys, I forgot to grab this out of my drawer here. But what I like to do to clean my gel brushes is I will use my Synergy Base Gel. And you can really use whatever clear gel you like. You could even use your Ultimate Finish if you want to. But I personally like to use the base gel because I like the consistency of it. It's a little bit, it's not thick, but it's got a little bit of a grip to it. So I'm going to take a little bit of that onto my tile, and then I'm going to run my brush through that base gel, both sides, just working that gel into my brush. And this will really help to pull out any of that gel polish that might still be in that brush. So just working that clear gel through your brush, and then once you have all of the color coming out, then just take your brush onto a clean area of your tile, wipe out that extra gel, bring that brush back to a point. And I always leave a little bit of gel in my brush, so this way your bristles stay conditioned, they stay in a nice shape. And then you can take the back part off and put that cap back on, and your brush is going to be ready to go for you for next time. Again, you guys, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and let's take a look at our finished nails. Now you guys, I want to show you something really quick. I know we just finished these and I know they're super, super pretty, super shiny, absolutely gorgeous. Do you guys want to see what one of them will look like with a matte top coat? Because I think a matte top coat with this design would also be a really pretty option. Let me know in the chat. Do you want to see a matte top coat? If you do, I will grab our matte non-tack top coat. So again, this is also a non-tack. So this one is going to fully cure and you're not going to have a tacky surface to wipe off. All right, some of you are saying yes, you want to see the matte. So you guys, I'm going to show you one final look with the shiny. So if those of you that want to do shiny, you can definitely use that Ultimate Finish to do your shiny surface. If you are wanting to do a matte look, then again, use your matte non-tack. So maybe let's do 2 of them with the matte and then we'll leave 2 of them shiny. So we'll do these last 2. Now, instead of doing, if you were wanting to do the matte top coat, you just wouldn't have done that coat of the Ultimate Finish. You would have gone right into your matte non-tack after doing your color. But you guys, this was kind of a last minute thought. I just wanted to show you guys options because sometimes it's fun to just change things up. And I really am liking matte nails lately. Obviously, you can see that's what I'm wearing on some of my nails right now. So matte is just, like I said, it's a really fun way to change up your designs and add, I always call it adding more interest. So just add a little bit of interest to your nails. And again, our matte top coat, that's also going to cure for a full 60 seconds. And once that is cured out, just like our Ultimate Finish top coat, they're both not going to have any tacky surface that you're going to need to wipe off. So it's going to be done and ready to go once it's cured. So full 60 seconds on that. This is again going to give you guys one last chance to hit that subscribe button, join our community, get all of this great free education. Usually we are here on YouTube about 3 times a week doing demonstrations for you and teaching for you guys. I do try to see what's going on in the chat, but I think I probably have missed some of your questions in there. So hopefully our moderators were able to respond to those questions. But you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, set your notifications so that you can always know when we are going live here. Oh, how do you clean the tiles when you're done? Great question. Great question, you guys. Thank you for asking questions. Usually what I do, I'll show you on the small tile. Usually what I will do is just take one of our lint-free wipes and a little bit of our onto the next polish remover. Take a little pump of that, and then you can use that to clean all the way through that surface. So again, it's just a ceramic tile, nothing fancy, and just nice and easy to clean off. Sushi's asking, will this live be on video? Yes, you guys, all of our live streams here on YouTube, we do post back on our channel here. So again, make sure to subscribe to the channel so that you can come back and rewatch any of these and see all of the demos again. Rewatch them as much as you want to. You guys, to clean off this tile, now this one I do have a lot more of that gel on there, so I probably wouldn't just take one of the wipes and wipe it off. What I would do is I would use my little spatula here, scoop those off, and you guys, here's where it sometimes gets a little bit fun. Just go through and start mixing colors together. It's probably going to all come together and be kind of a brown color, but you never know. You may come up with a beautiful color that you really like. But otherwise, what I would do is I would just scoop up all of that extra, wipe it off onto, and I'm going to actually grab one of our table towels. I use the table towels and I cut those into smaller pieces. So this way I can scoop that up and just wipe that onto that table towel. So scrape as much of that off of there as you can. And then you can go through with either your little cut up table towels, or you could use the lint-free wipes again to use your onto the next. And again, just cleanse that off just like I did with the smaller tile. All right, now that that is cleaned up, let's show you that final look. Oh my gosh, you guys, that turned out so pretty. Okay, so let me know in the chat, you guys, which is your favorite? Is the shiny your favorite or is the matte your favorite? I would like to know because I'm kind of liking the matte, but what do you guys think? Let me know. Otherwise, again, you guys make sure if you haven't already, hit subscribe, join our community, get free education, and enjoy all of these demonstrations. Looks like we're split. Shiny, some people are saying shiny and some people are saying matte, but you guys, you have that option so you can do whichever one you choose. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Hopefully you enjoyed our spring ombre design, and choose your shiny or choose your matte. We'll see you guys back next time. Thanks, everybody.